Welcome back to Almost Pro, where we talk about all the things that make sport more than just the game.
And today, it's not about the players, it's about us. You and me, the fans, the people in the stands, the ones screaming at the TV, the ones crying when their team wins or loses, when their favorite player or athlete hits a life goal or a milestone.
We think that fandom, that shared emotion, sideline, in your lounge room at home, wherever you are, might just be the most powerful thing sport creates.
Absolutely.
So, Laura, what is fandom? What's the real definition of fandom?
Yeah, okay. All right. So, fandom overall is the collective community of fans who share a strong interest, passion, or devotion to a particular sport, team, athlete, or cultural phenomenon. But I
Yeah,
think fandom kind of has a different definition to everyone, but
yeah,
it unites us at the core.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. And often defines our identity, right? So
Right.
it's this kind of loyalty to colors, loyalty to people, loyalty to teams that we've never met
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time.
It connects
Most
everyone.
of the time. Yeah. However, for most sports, we can get pretty close to players now, whether that's in real life or through social media platforms or documentaries or whatever it is. We get this real connection to them where we don't even need to meet them necessarily anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you haven't actually met these people in person, but you
Yeah.
are feeling their journey with them in a way, that they
Yeah.
take through the
Yeah,
sport
yeah.
and sort of becoming part of a community as well, which I think is a
Yeah.
really beautiful thing about fandom.
Would you describe yourself as a fan of any sport, athlete, culture, community?
Of so many, to be honest. I
Same.
It's a problem.
Same.
It has gotten way out of
Yep.
hand. It costs too much because you
Yep.
have to have the merch
Yep. It does.
from all of the
It
different
does.
teams and, generates way too much for my day-to-day conversation. What about you?
Yep.
You
I
have
hear
you
you
got your few or
100%.
yeah?
No, no. Mine are so vast and then something like a World Cup will start or the Olympics will start or some kind of like grand sports series will start and suddenly I'm tracking another team to the extent that I've bought in so hard that I'm crying on my couch watching like, "Oh my gosh, they're qualifying," or, "Oh my gosh, they've made it through." And I reckon lots of people would be doing that actually at home, that I call it the Olympics, for example. Yes, we instinctively track the country that we call home, but I think you get a soft spot for good stories told well, and suddenly you attach yourself to a sporting team that, like a Brazilian volleyball team
Yep.
that you're like, how did I get here? How did I get here that I'm waking up at silly o'clock because I want to know how these two women go on the beach playing volleyball?
I love
You
that.
know, I'm that person. I am so, so available to fandom.
That's so true. Sometimes we don't even understand the language that it's being spoken in, and we are
Yeah,
right there living it with them. But
exactly,
y you know
exactly. And if you find yourself in a stadium, you are a fan. Like,
Yes.
something happens in the collective environment of people gathered, chanting the same chants, wearing the same colors, supporting the same people, that even if you turned up as a very, very soft fan, you're in.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or
It's
not, that crowd will pick
contagious.
you up.
It is so
So is.
contagious, and if
It
you
so
yeah,
is.
even right down to, back onto the merch, if you see a cool shirt, you're
Yeah.
like, "Who's that? What team's that? Oh, I've gotta follow
Yeah.
them," or you
Yeah.
show up to the game just because you're tagging along, like you said, thinking, "Oh, I'm not really into basketball," or
Mm.
whatever it is. 30 minutes later,
Yeah.
you can bet most people are gonna be up off their seats, barracking for the team that they've decided that they are now a fan of. It's brilliant. I love it.
Absolutely. Via the merch shop on the way out,
That's
right?
it, yeah.
It's outrageous. It is outrageous. Do you know what is the craziest thing though? And what would you guess would be the top 5, like, supported sports in the world? Highest number of fans supporting the top 5 sports in the world. What do you reckon they would be?
Just a guess?
Yeah.
Okay, just a guess. I would say football, so soccer, football.
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
feel like that's
Agree.
a bit of a no-brainer. It's
Yep.
everywhere and very, very, very intense fans,
Yeah.
everywhere also. I would
Yep.
think maybe, like, baseball. I would think baseball would
Yep.
be up there,
Yep.
and,
Agree.
um,
Cricket
cricket, of course, yeah, cricket.
has to be you haven't been in the US that long. Come
I
on.
nearly
Has to be
have,
cricket.
almost forgot. I don't know. What would your top 3 picks be?
Um, I would want to assume American football
Yep, that's fair.
just because I think there's a huge amount of money in some of those teams
Huge.
that
Yes.
must translate to fan base
Yeah, that's fair.
along the way. So if we go football as in soccer, cricket, baseball, American football, um, tennis?
I would love to say tennis, but I'm not sure if that's coming from a place of me being a crazy tennis fan or whether or not
Yeah.
other people share in that also. But
Well, guess what?
yeah,
Guess what?
what?
I would've picked those as my 5,
Okay.
and if you were happy to add tennis as your 5th,
Yeah.
then, we were wrong, my friend. We were wrong.
Okay. What are
So,
they?
with a bit of research behind us, we got soccer right. It is number 1
Yes.
for football.
Yep. Feel like we're playing bingo.
3.5 billion estimated fans around the world.
Wow.
I reckon that number's low. There's gotta be more,
Yeah.
surely,
Yeah.
surely. Cricket is number 2, estimated at 2.2 billion,
Above baseball?
sharing that spot
Yeah.
sharing that spot with field hockey at 2.2 billion.
No, it's not. Wow.
But it is. But it
I
is.
suppose Europe,
And look,
huge sport in Europe.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? And I promise you I've source checked this multiple
Okay.
times. So number 4
Yeah.
is tennis.
Love it. Yes. Good win for tennis.
Yay! Yay. And number 5 is not baseball.
Okay.
It is not American football.
Okay.
It's volleyball.
Wow.
It's volleyball.
Never in a million years.
So anyway, yeah, no, for real. And it takes us to number 7 before we find baseball. Table tennis sits above it as well, globally.
You know what's just happened
So
though?
anyway,
These have surprised
what?
us. So now we're going to be new fans of field hockey and volleyball because
Obviously,
they're way
obviously.
up there. We need to know what it's all about. This is how it works.
You know what? I refuse to accept you don't already have some field hockey merch. I refuse to accept it.
Uh, there's not too many field hockey around here, but I am a sucker for cool merch. So you can bet that the next time we
No,
have this conversation, that there'll probably be some merch around.
I love it. Do you know what? Like, even as we talk about it, it brings me actual joy. I can feel the joy of this topic for me because I can feel the atmosphere of a stadium. And you and I both know we've been together accessing
Yeah,
stadiums in the US that were completely empty, not a fan in the grandstands, not a player on a pitch, and there is still a heartbeat in a stadium even when it's empty, right? There's this thing you
absolutely.
can feel. If that's something you enjoy, and honestly, if it's not, what do you enjoy? Because when those places come to life,
Yeah.
mate, your blood pulses.
Yes.
Like, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And what I love most is we can back this as well. So tell us about the psychology behind fan identity.
Yeah, this is one of the things I love the most about fandom because, it just brings so much real joy and real love into the world. And we
Yeah.
definitely need that. And studies have
Yeah.
found that when fans see their team win or perform well, that the
Mm.
same like pleasure centers in their brain light up as when they experience love. So it could be like experience
Yeah.
romantic love, parental love, just love. And
Pure.
then the flip side of that is true as well. So on the flip side, if your team loses the game or something disappointing happens with your team, you literally feel that hurt. And so it
Yeah.
has this very real psychological effect on us, um, which is why I always try and back the winning teams.
Because the real hurt
Yeah,
is genuine. It
it
is a
is. Yeah.
heartbreak that is so akin to that with love because of those same pleasure centers opening in the brain, which blows my mind, right?
Yeah.
But we know it to be true.
Yeah.
We know it in our own experience. We feel it in the way that we watch our kids now or people we love experiencing wins and losses in different parts of sport. So and I can tell you, as like, our boy lost his grand final playing soccer, football
Oh,
this year,
yeah.
and but he lost in a penalty shootout.
Oh, that's
And I can
cool.
tell you now, what do you mean that's
I
cool?
love it when it
It's
gets to a
awful.
penalty shootout. Like, it's awful he lost.
Not as
But
a
yeah,
parent.
but you walk
It's
away and
horrible.
it's been a tight game, and I love it. I love a
It's the
close
worst way to
game.
lose.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. No, you will not say that right now. I love a close game too, except when you're the parent.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
but what it says is, at the end of the game, at the end of extra time, there is nothing setting you apart. So here is the way that we're going to make that difference, is we're going to put one of you at a time under an absolute enormous amount of pressure, and every fan in this place who loves you and that
Yeah.
child is going to weep alongside you for every strike that is missed and every shot that is made,
Yeah.
because we feel that love when the shot is made. So when they got one in, we felt the pleasure center open, and when they missed, your heart genuinely broke with them. These
Yeah.
kids are 14, Laura.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we're not playing on the World Cup stage, but
Yeah.
it is still the same, because you are behind that team. You are behind every player in that team
Mm.
and what they stand for. We were dressed head to toe in the same colors as them, with, people had their pom-poms, and little siblings had their, they were cheering right up close. So you feel all of that stuff. And I reckon that's the psychology layer of fandom that talks about this social identity theory, where we use the language around belonging, that is we and
Yeah.
our team, we won, we lost,
Yep.
is proven psychologically to be that layer of social identity theory that says we will experience the wins and losses of this team as though we played. And that the consequence of that is the effect of a win or a loss in the we and our context impacts your self-esteem and mood in such a way that it can last days.
Yeah. It's an emotional roller
Days.
coaster
Feel
for
that, right?
sure.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. So, and at the same time, there's that layer that says, in that sense of belonging, there's also a sense of social connection
Yeah.
and well-being, because we link through that sense of community. We link through days and days after an under 14s grand final that went to a penalty shootout, messaging between parents. How's your boy?
Yeah.
Has he picked up okay? How's the goalkeeper? Does he feel like he can chat yet? Because again, a lot of pressure on an individual, but we're all feeling it,
Yeah.
right?
I'm always nervous for the goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that we can demonstrate it's not just a feeling you and I think we have, but it
Mm.
is a scientifically proven, understood set of theories, because there's multiple layers to it, that say those colors, that team, that player, that connection is so real, it will modify your brain pattern.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
And now, time for a short break. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to join the Almost Pro community and stay up to date with the latest episodes and news. To find out more or to apply to be a guest, visit almostpropodcast.com today. One of the things I absolutely love, though, about fandom is that it is the world's largest social movement. Like, you think about 3.5 billion people just with football alone, right? Like, that's got to be the biggest shared interest on the planet. That's insane. That brings so many people together, and just growing and continuing to grow. And as new sports are added, then it piques the interest of new people, because not everybody, although 3.5 billion is a lot of people, not everybody is going to watch football. And so there you have this.
They should.
They should.
They
Look,
should.
I do agree with you, but you might have the person that's really into, say, archery, and then you've got that fan
Yep.
base and all these other
Yep.
sports. And so it's one of those great things where it can speak to what I think every personality. If you're
Yeah, it's
just
so
wanting to
true.
follow one and football isn't your thing, well, there's probably one out there, and I think
Mhm.
that is just
Mhm.
fantastic.
And that you can be on different continents
Yes.
and chant the same chants, wear the same colors, rip apart a game the same way in your post-game
Yep.
analysis. That you can be a part of the holding of the scarves to show the full display as a banner of the team you love
Yeah.
because you chose to support that specific sport and that specific team in a way that you opened your brain
Yeah.
and connected with other people without even knowing you were doing it.
Absolutely, those rituals get me every time because it goes
Yeah,
above
same.
and beyond language and everything, and one of the most enjoyable rituals that I've witnessed through tennis, through, the fan base of Rafael Nadal, a very famous
Oh,
tennis
come
player,
on. Yeah.
is his obsession of every single
Yep.
match, he has to have his water bottles in a certain way,
Yep.
and so I love
Yep.
walking out into a new tennis club or on a tennis court, and you look across the courts, and you've got the people you know are fans of Nadal because they
Right.
copy him,
Yep.
they put their water bottles in a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
way, and I just love
And
that.
tuck their ears. Tuck.
But that sparks a conversation, right? Now we've got
It
this
does.
shared link.
It
So
does.
you can bet after the game, we're walking up to each other going, "Oh, I saw what you did there. You're a fan." And we start
Yeah.
talking about it. And that's how it
Yep.
brings people together. And there's so many examples, but I think those rituals that are set are something that you can use to identify who is a fan as well of that same athlete or that same sport,
Yeah.
long after the
Yeah.
game ends.
Who is in this community with me,
Right.
and we identify one another at the games, but also outside of that in wearing the merch, in the way we interact with them on social media, and you'll see, "Oh, my friend also follows this account. Had no
Yeah.
idea they were a fan of this particular play of Rafa or whoever it is." Do you know it's actually referred to as collective effervescence
Right.
psychologically. So psychologists say that that sense of energy, of sharing emotion within a group in that ritualistic way is called collective effervescence. Again, another demonstration in your brain, in that psychology of the way that fans in sport open their brains and become part of something.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
It is so, so cool. And it goes deeper in some places. I don't know if you've seen documentaries like Welcome to Wrexham that give you a bit of an insight into kind of the way that the fan base translates to member base, and the way member base then really invests, and I mean literally
Yeah.
invests, whether time, finances, or other resources to keep their clubs alive
Mm.
when the club hits times of hardship. So
Yeah.
there are some phenomenal stories about the way that fans create oftentimes some narrative or influence in the way that teams are run, operated, playing, that goes far deeper than you realize. And some fan councils, or even digital voting, like social media voting and polls, determines the merchandise that will be released.
Yeah.
Do we want this one or that one? And we take a vote, and that's the one that the club will release for that season. So the involvement of fans is also much deeper than just this sense of love, connection, belonging, ritual.
Yep.
But now there's also an increasing component of involvement in decision making, whether we realize we're doing it or not.
Absolutely. I mean, that's who they're marketing to, right? So you wanna know
Yep.
that your fans are gonna be satisfied with the product you're putting out or the service you're putting out because that's who's going to
Yeah.
be, yeah, using that product or service. But I think that actually goes just it even extends outside of the professional sporting landscape as well. You see that to some degree
Yeah.
at every single level, right down to grassroots and community sport.
Yep.
Local clubs.
Yep.
Okay, well, if I am a fan of my local club, I'm attending it regularly. They're going to try and make sure that, okay, well, how can we create like a membership, for example, or how can we create an
Yeah.
offering that is appealing to
Yeah.
these people because clearly there's an interest there. They're a fan. They're wanting to come back and back and back. So how can we,
Yeah.
yeah, have them on board?
What did you tell me was the value of fandom globally?
Yeah, it's huge. I'm glad we're sitting down because it exceeds 600 billion US dollars. Like,
Yeah, like if you process that number,
yeah, that
that's massive.
and that comprises of like tickets, merch, subscriptions and
Yep.
travel.
What percentage there was a percentage though you told me about the number of people who actually invest.
Yeah, so we're talking about the most loyal fans there, like the absolute fanatics. So that would be the
Yep.
10% of those fans, which are often generating more than half of the team's revenue through repeat engagement. 10%.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. So the top 10%
Yep.
of fans generate more than half of their team's
Like I
revenue.
said, glad we're
Like,
sitting down.
that's die hard.
Yeah.
That's die hard. I don't think I'm a top 10% of any of the ones that I follow.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think because I've got such a breadth in teams and codes that I follow, I wouldn't say I'm in the top 10% and part of what is buoying, quite literally, buoying some of these teams. But I know people who
Yeah.
are. And I was at a football game yesterday. I watched the Brisbane Roar play the Newcastle Jets. So I think I know the people that are floating the Brisbane Roar,
Yeah.
like, based on what we saw, but and I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And we sat with a view of their fans, they're called The Den, and we had a view of them, and I don't know how much of what was happening on the field my kids were watching versus what was happening in the den.
Yep.
You know, just that sense of camaraderie that they were sharing, at times a little boisterous, but, you know, for the most part, they were there with one common
But do you
interest,
not wanna be
and
part
that
of
was
it?
to get behind.
You
Right,
know, like,
right.
yeah, go join them.
Yep,
That's that's the great part about
yep,
it.
yep. Do you know why? Do you know why?
Why?
Because, again, because 'cause I'm committed to the psychology of
Yeah, yeah.
fandom right now, because when you're watching sport, and particularly a sport that you feel connected with as a fan, it releases dopamine and oxytocin.
I knew it.
So the chemicals associated with happiness and connection are triggered in the times that you're watching sports that you feel connected with.
I believe it.
Of course it
Yep.
does. Of course it does. I leave a stadium a different person to when I went in. There's also a like this thing that happens to me while I'm there and it's loud and it's engaged, like really engaged.
So
It's pretty crazy. And
so if that's the case then, I mean, my heart rate sometimes, it's just astronomical. Sometimes, my wife is like, "This is not good for your health." And I
yeah,
beg to
there's
differ.
there's That's great for my
Yeah.
health. There's research from Oxford University that says that fans' heart rates during intense matches mimic light cardiovascular exercise.
See?
So I have this theory that there are Apple Watches pinging all around the place
Yep.
in a sports stadium telling people that they're exercising. They're actually doing
I'm
something.
gonna be playing this part of the podcast back next time there's a game on. Look, it is good for my
Everybody
health.
needs to know this is happening for real for
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely.
Hey, are your parents fans of anything that you mimic?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
when I was little, I thought it was crazy that there was these 2 grown people screaming at the TV, and I couldn't work out what they were screaming about, and as I got older, I started to join them screaming at the TV all around swimming, and so I really
Yeah,
inherited,
yes. Oh my gosh.
you know,
Real.
it woah, and
Yes.
it's just it's the only sport where they would come together and scream at the TV, and
Yeah.
if the swimmer that they wanted to win won, like, everything was great, and but that's a real thing. This
Yeah,
inheritance
yeah, yeah.
of passion for sports is a very real
Yeah.
thing. In fact,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there is actually stats around this. So it's, up
Yep.
around 70% of fans say they support the same team as a parent or a family member. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's so there's this massive
Yeah.
link.
Someone of influence, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. One of the
And
strongest intergenerational traditions out there, you know?
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. I don't even know if I should be embarrassed to tell you that I could produce a catalog for our socials of me in so many different colors, supporting so many different teams, but with my whole heart and soul, like face paint, temporary tattoos, stuff in my
Well,
hair,
now we
always
need
the
to
merch
see
on.
this. This we
Now
need
we
to make this
need it.
happen.
Now we and I can tell you that it is a shared passion. So I know for my family that like, my absolute desire to be watching sport, involved in sport means they've developed sport connections that and they're now fostering in ways that they can access on their own. So they'll watch a game with friends that, you know, they're connected now with those friends because of their love for a specific sporting team or a specific sporting or a rivalry, which
Yeah,
is just as important, right? In
absolutely.
terms of building connection and community. So it bonds, even the rivalry will bond teams closer. So the rivalry between X and Y, you know, every supporter of X will dig in deeper when they're playing against Y,
Absolutely.
you know? And we see that in everything. But I am willing to say I have an embarrassing number of memories captured by photos, you know, that show this relationship with sport and sport fandom that I actually do hope every child in my house catches.
Yeah,
I want them to catch that, you know?
yeah.
I really do.
Do you have
I really
a
do.
top sport that, is on in your house regularly?
Not
No?
not because in different seasons we follow whatever is in
True.
season, and yes, have a team in every code. And you know, you may or may not know, but in the recent season of AFL and NRL in Australia, so Australian Football League and the National Rugby League, in both of those, the teams closest to where I live won. So they were in the grand finals and then they won the grand finals. I had to message my neighbors and say, please be warned, we'll be out the back watching the game today. And you need to know that that's going to be noisy. Like, I kid you not. I sent them a text message and said, you need to be advised. All of the kids will be here. My husband and I will be here. There'll be other people over as well. And it is loud
Yeah.
and it is like emotional and we are hypercharged. And if we win, we will celebrate. And if we lose, we will commiserate, but we'll do both together.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are having a great year. I think almost every
We're
single
having a great year.
sport
I
final
know.
for
And did you see the AFLW?
Yes,
The women,
yes,
looks like the Lions are pushing pretty well as well.
yes,
So
fingers
if
crossed.
we can make this happen, and we got a Brisbane Roar win yesterday. So, you know, listen to us. We're gonna be celebrating using all the serotonin and oxytocin, and we're gonna be joining one another because we've got all this psychological support that says we're allowed to do this because it's real for us all.
Yeah,
Okay? That's why.
become the healthiest
We need
state.
this. I think we do. We do need fandom. We need fandom for the community and belonging. We need fandom because so many people are lost in terms of what to
Mm,
identify with and how they identify. What is my identity? We need it because there's a sense of emotional safety when we're doing all of this together. So when we lose, we're disappointed together, and when we win, we bond together. And and that strange paradox of closeness that fandom creates where we think, you know, we're more connected than we really are as fans. We almost think there's this friendship with people we've just never
yeah,
met, and I'm entirely okay with that. I think if you can go somewhere where you don't even know the person next to you, but you're living and breathing what's going to happen in that next moment, I don't think there's anything bad in any of this right now.
totally agree. Sport just keeps on giving, doesn't it? There's so many layers
Yep, it
and
does.
it's for everyone.
It does. I think, fandom can teach us a lot about being human. You know, I think we can underestimate how important fans are to the spirit or you know, the soul of sport, but I think it is definitely a space where, you know, we can feel it all. We can feel everything. We can feel the pride, the heartbreak, the pure joy, but we can do it all together.
Absolutely. And that's why fandom matters. You know, it reminds us that
It
sport
does.
isn't just played on the field, it's lived in the stands, in the living rooms, in the neighbors that
Yep.
overhear us, in the hearts of
Yep.
the people who care.
Do you know what? I I will maintain a connection to sport through fandom. I can't play anymore in lots of the spaces that I used to, but I can be a solid fan and I can help my children to understand what it means to be a fan. So I think go the fans, hey?
Absolutely.
That is our chat on fandom. For anyone who loved this chat, please share it with your friends, fellow fans, family, and tag us at Almost Pro Podcast, telling us what team or athlete you'll love forever. We might feature your story in a future episode. Thanks for joining us.